Hey Trails Collective, Ian here for the weekly rundown of Northeast trail running for the week ending July 1st, 2021. Hopefully this finds you all doing great. So probably one of the bigger pieces in at least, well, probably national and international trail running this past weekend was the Western States 100 that went down. I know that it's still a fairly small piece of the trail running pie. But indeed, one of the first and classics out there, and something that the trail running world, or many in the trail running world, look forward to each year. One piece of significance this year, besides it just being a broiler out there in terms of temperature, with the heat wave that's hit many other parts of the country this past week or so, was that women took 3 of the top 10 spots this year, with 9 in the top 20. Over the brutal day, 67% of women who started finished, and that's compared to 66% of men. And however, looking at those percentages, reflecting an opportunity to bring more women still into filling more of the ranks in the trail running world, women only comprise 30% of the field. I would assume that if the lottery for Western states is pulling equally amongst men and women, maybe still pointing toward only 30% of those who apply for Western might be women. So definitely still a lot of work to do to really bring a broader and more reflective swath of individuals into the trail running world and ranks. There were a number of Northeast finishers from, I guess, most of our states. From Connecticut, Scott Slater and Jimmy McCaffrey. Massachusetts, Jack Bailey. Maryland, Aaron Ellison. New Jersey, Christopher Johnston, who was the top Northeast male, and Doug Kamen. New York, Sarah Keyes. She was the top Northeast finisher at 25th overall and the 12th female. Zandy Mangold, Tom Ty, Olga Huber, Jesse Canfield, Marcin Maroka, Azam Polotov, and Kirk Smith. From PA, Mark Fry, Joseph Galatano, and Mike Acer. From Virginia, Tim Spalding, Dan Spearin, Brett Scherfy, Tom Pluim, Jim Daniels, Scott Lee, and Jeffrey Lysiak, and West Virginia, Isaac Waite. So congrats to all of you, and hopefully you had amazing experiences out there. Also cueing us into a little bit more depth in Western states is my friend and co-RD, Sarah Keyes. Sarah, cue us into your day out there. Oh, you want me to say something?
Yeah, you got it. You're the host.
Welcome to Tuesday Mornings with Big Ron. This is Sarah Keyes. Sarah Keyes. Like pies. I heard you ran a race this weekend.
I did.
Is running the right word for it?
I ran quite a bit of it, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
/ laid on the ground and cried.
Yeah. It's like a mixture of laying on the ground and crying and running fast.
Yes.
Okay. How did the first 30 miles go?
First 30 miles went all right to start. Felt pretty great. Fine. It's beautiful sunrise coming up over Squaw. And then in the high country, started to feel a little bit off, kind of nauseous, a little lightheaded and dizzy. Yeah, I can attribute that maybe to being not completely ready for altitude, plus last day of my high hormone phase of my cycle.
What cycle?
My menstrual cycle.
So like periods?
It's like a period.
Ah!
So that's super fun to start your period on a huge race like Western States.
When we got to mile 30, how's it going?
By the time I saw you at Robinson Flat, not good. Both my hamstrings were cramping terribly, so like hiking uphill was actually not fun. And I was pretty hot. It's when things start to kind of open up and you get more direct sunlight. So I was not really psyched. I don't even know what position I was in at that point. A couple of women had passed me. So 20th place. But you got me out of that aid station pretty quickly.
Which one?
Robinson Flat.
Yeah. How's it going at mile 55?
Mile 55, I saw you again at Michigan Bluff. Very hot. This is after the canyons, when I had then started using my Arch Max pack, basically just for ice. And my feet were pretty destroyed. I got there totally expecting having them fixed, so that was like in my brain for miles. Didn't happen. Aaron didn't even bring me a chair.
Nope. Because I said, you're going to get the fuck out of here and go to Forest Hill.
So I left there, and I immediately, when I got on the trail, sat down and cried for a minute.
So that backfired.
Got to Forest Hill. My other pacer, Matt, met me on Bath Road where we were walking up, and I said, I think I'm done with this, not doing this again. In 2017, Matt and I walked for about 18 miles down Cal Street because my feet were destroyed, and I was not going to repeat that experience. And that's exactly what was in my head, was that was going to happen again. So we got to Forest Hill. I laid down on the ground there. Thank you to Alpenglow and Brendan for providing the tent and shade where I could lay and cry.
She's pointing to the logo, not her boobs. Shout out Brendan. Boobs. Thank you, Janice.
Thanks, Janice, for holding my head up so I could eat Pringles and cry.
How to go after Forest Hill?
So we taped
Chucky.
We taped up my feet. Basically, you guys negotiated with me and said, just try to get down to the river, see how it goes. And I was like, fine.
We said, do whatever it takes to get to Rucky Chucky, and then we'll deal with it. With the idea that it would be dark by the time she got to Rucky Chucky.
And it had just gotten dark when I got there. But Matt also said to me, look, if we start down this hill and it's not any better, we'll just turn back. And I was like, all right, that's fine. That's a good plan. So shout out to David Roach also, who was there to give me all the positive, reinforcement about life in general.
The pions, the positive ions.
Positive ions were flowing. So started down Cal Street. Actually felt quite good. Was able to really run. My feet felt way better. And I made it all the way to Rucky Chucky just after dark.
Had you started passing people yet?
I did. I passed a couple of men, and I passed Catherine Drew in that section too after.
Nice.
On Cal Street.
Yeah, the whole race you were chasing Eric Sensman.
I was. I never caught him though.
Nope. What happened when you hit Rucky Chucky?
So I hit Rucky Chucky. That felt pretty nice, actually, to get into the river. My feet, we'd kept them totally dry until that point, after Forest Hill to Rucky Chucky. And then met you and my last pacer, Peter Howe.
Peter Howe. Whoop. Northeast Power.
And we kind of jogged up to Green Gate, where I changed my shoes again, put on new socks and tape, left with a piece of pizza, and then was feeling quite good. Was able to jog and run most of the last 20 miles, actually.
Yep.
Which was exciting.
How many people did you catch, and who were they?
So, passed a couple of men who I do not know who they were. First female I passed was Abby Hall, running with her pacer, Sabrina Stanley. They jumped on the train for a minute. It was fun. And then passed, I think, Howell. Is it Shannon?
Shannon Howell. Magda Boulay.
And then Claire after Pointed Rocks.
You're missing one.
Am I missing it? I don't know.
Well, whatever. She passed 5 women, a couple dudes.
Yep.
In the last 15 miles.
It was pretty psyched. I could run pretty much all the downs, all the flats, a lot of the ups. Some of the ups are pretty steep that I hiked, but.
I got a text from Peter that said, quote, she's fucking ripping.
We were ripping.
10-minute miles.
And so then made it to No Hands, actually by myself, because Peter had to turn around, because we thought we had no extra headlamps. Turns out we had 2 extra headlamps.
Because I'm the best crew ever.
And Peter ran all the way back to Pointed Rocks and sprinted back to me. And we made it to the finish line as one crew, which was wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's about it.
That's about it. Finished. 12 female. 25th overall. The really cool thing actually was that in the top, as I'm laying on the turf in the fetal position, the announcer says, as the top 30 finished, he goes, this is the first time in race history we've had half of the top 30 be female, which is pretty cool.
Yep.
So that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, drastically more professional male ultra runners who get paid money to ultra race dropped out.
Correct.
Than a bunch of women who don't get paid to ultra race. So that's cool.
Yeah. We can grind it out, that's for sure.
Thanks, Hoka, for not paying people equally.
All right. But let's thank people who did support me.
Okay, shoes.
So thanks to VJ for helping me out on the course.
What'd you wear?
I wore the Max for the high country, which was really great, actually, to have that extra durability. And then the VJ Ultra up until Forest Hill.
Socks.
Darn Toughs pretty much the entire time. Worked great.
Clothing.
And then huge shout out to Rab, who provided me all sorts of clothing actually for this trip and the future.
Secretly making great stuff that
Yes,
you
I
can't
tested
have
out.
quite yet.
Tested out the new kit, wore it the entire time, was super comfortable. Really excited about next year's line.
Julbo.
Wore these, not these exact pair, the Rush for most of the race until it got dark. Actually, all the way to Green Gate, I had them on my head. So that was awesome. And then, of course, Tailwind Nutrition. Drink a lot of Tailwind out there.
Lots of sugar. Maple Dude.
And Maple Dude. Had a lot of maple syrup, too, out there.
Yep. Well, that about does it.
Thanks for joining us.
SpawnCon.
So for all of those who know Sarah, a truly incredible individual, amazingly tough, but just a genuinely amazing individual all around. So congrats, Sarah, out there. Truly incredible performance, and thanks for checking back in there. And then also, as it presents a just potentially different experience. There were several out there where this was their first go at Western, as is the case, I guess, for many based on the lottery system. But Connecticut's own Jimmy McCaffrey.
Hey, what's up, Trails Collective fam? It's your boy Jimmy Mack, checking in back here in Hamden, Connecticut after finishing the Western States 100, the 2021 edition. So I'll just give you a little background on this race and my experience with it. So I've been ultra running 10 years, and my entire ultra running life has pretty much paralleled my desire to get into this race. I got into running in 2010. I was 200-pound pack-a-day smoker for most of my 20s, and needed to do some changing, and so got into this wacky sport somehow, and did a couple road half marathons, and was like, yeah, this is cool, I guess, but where are my people at? And friend suggested I try trail running, so I ran a trail half, and this was in November of 2011, and I found out about this race called Western States 100. And the fact that I was blown away, I didn't have any idea that people ran 100-mile races, and so something in my brain just clicked, hearing about this thing. Just something in my brain told me, like, you're going to do that one day. And my entire running life since then has been kind of this singular purpose to get into Western and run Western States 100. And so from that point on, it was pretty much I never went back to I didn't go back to the roads till 2015. I think I tell people I did my first 100-miler before I did my first road marathon. Because I wanted to start putting tickets into this lottery and get into this race. So I've been putting tickets in since 2012. Did 6 years in the lottery, took a 1-year bye, and then I got picked on my 7th try in 2019 to run it in 2020. And of course, we know what happened in 2020, so that was pushed back a year. So this was almost 9 years in the making, trying to start this race. And so yeah, I almost a decade of holding my family hostage, having to run qualifiers every year, and it finally happened last week on Saturday. And I flew into Sacramento on Wednesday night, stayed in Sacto, woke up Thursday morning and drove up to Olympic Valley, and the minute I got out of my car, pulled up in the lot, the excitement in the air was palpable, and that's probably me. I probably brought some of that too, but just talking to people, I met this older couple who has not missed. They've missed one race since 1986, either running it or volunteering, or they've just been involved with this race for 35 years. Beautiful, awesome couple, Jerry and Kathy Coletto, and and then from then on, it was just all the festivities, everything that was happening in Olympic Valley. It was just amazing. And then, Thursday night and into Friday, and Friday I went to, they give you some of the crew meeting and some of the other stuff, the Trail Sisters talk, and just full of nerves, just full of excitement, and ready to start this thing. And then Saturday morning, race comes, and yeah, I'm just, I'm so nervous, and as soon as that gun goes, it's the nerves all go away, and that first climb up the escarpment was just so special, and I'm just fighting back tears for the first like 5 minutes. It was just so emotional, and ended up going up most of that climb with another Connecticut guy, Scott Slater, who's been waiting a year longer than me to get in this thing. So, same kind of thing. There was talking to a lot of folks who were 6, 7, and 8 year people throughout the day, that didn't want to give their shot away, and just kept putting tickets in and make this dream come true. And as for the race, it was pretty much standard. It was hot. It's everything you hear about Western States. It was hot. The downhills started to take a toll on me. I noticed the climb just before Devil's Thumb down the Swinging Bridge is when my quads started feeling a little funky. And through that whole point, through the heat of the day, the canyons between Last Chance and Devil's Thumb, my tummy just kind of went. And, but it bounced back. It bounced back around El Dorado Creek going up into Michigan Bluff. And then I felt great, for the next 15 miles. I felt great until Cal 2, until what they call Peachstone, about mile 73. And then my stomach revolted on me again. And, throughout the night, I couldn't put any food in for about 12 miles for almost, 4 hours, 3.5 hours there, from 73 till about 85. And briefly had a conversation with myself in between Green Gate, mile 79, and Auburn Lake Trails at 85, that I might drop. That my stomach, I haven't been able to put food in, I'm going to come to a grinding halt if I don't figure something out here. And I just had a good conversation with myself about the pain of dropping out and possibly never doing this race again versus the pain of just how awful I felt. And I thought I'm going to bounce back from feeling awful. I always feel awful. 100 milers suck. But the pain of quitting, that would last forever. And so it was a pretty easy decision, and was able to run into ALT pretty strong. Got some chicken broth and some potato chips in me, and my stomach bounced back. And my stomach bounced back. It was pretty good till the end. I mean, I had a couple moments of basically trying to gag food down, and I'm not a puker, I'm a shitter. So I mean, I just had to take a lot of freaking pit stops, a lot of ducks into the woods, and which is kind of tough on that section because there's a ton of poison oak. But I didn't envision myself I thought I'd finish somewhere around 26, 27 hours, and the fact that I was one of those golden hour finishers, I finished 29 hours and 2 minutes, was actually really special, and it was really awesome. And the folks I was running with all day, we were just kind of leapfrogging back and forth, just helping each other out. And there's a bunch of us that I went out there without a pacer or a crew. And a buddy of mine was running just ahead of me, so I kind of glommed onto his crew, and they were huge, helping me out, basically convincing me to keep going at Green Gate. I guess even when I'm looking pretty bad, I guess I'm still looking pretty good. So they kind of got me right, and so all props to Law Dog, Nick, and Oak Miller. You guys kept my head in the game, and it was really great to run a lot of miles with my buddy Jesse, and it was a magical experience, and I'm glad it shook out the way it did. People always say I didn't get the race I wanted, but I got the race I needed, and that's exactly what happened for me. And a finish is a finish, and an ugly finish is a finish. And I finally got this thing, got this monkey off my back, so to speak. And it was a beautiful experience, and the trail's pretty cool. There's a lot of things around the race that are cool, but I think the thing that makes it Western States and why people want to go back year after year, it's the community. It's just the volunteers, the fact that all those little towns come out and completely support you, and like I said, the excitement is like palpable. You can feel the excitement, and so it's one of those things. I said to a buddy, I said, I want to go back next year just to watch. Just to get some more of that love and that excitement, because that's really what it's about, and that's what this whole sport's about. That's what it's about for me. I think when 2020 started, before the pandemic came, I was scheduled to run both Boston and Western States in the same calendar year, and I was going to train you know, to run really good races, you know, and something changed during the pandemic when I stopped chasing. For me, I stopped chasing times and I stopped chasing, you know, the outcome, and I started chasing the journey. You know, the journey became the destination, and the process became the most important thing for me. And that's really what this race represents. I didn't get the training I wanted this year. Work kind of slammed me. A lot of stuff around home, some weird physical stuff happened, you know. So I didn't get the training I wanted, but like I got the perfect race for me, and it was an awesome experience. And you know, if you're in that lottery, don't get discouraged. Keep throwing tickets in, and it's going to happen for you. And yeah, so peace out. Love y'all. Have a good one.
All right, so congrats out there, Jimmy, as well. It was fun to see you building up in some of your bigger training efforts this year, and congrats on the finish out there. And then also one of the most amazing hours, I'd say for many, would be the golden hour. It's the last 60 minutes ahead of the cutoff. Jamil Khoury assembled a great video wherein he challenges you not to get emotional of that golden hour, and we will embed the video here. Well, when I say here, embedding it in the Trails Collective written version, we'll have it embedded. But check that out in terms of on your own time, or it not being in the live stream here. All right, so Ultra Sign Up Hot List. Redressed Ultra is slated for September 11th in Virgil, New York. That's one of my events. It was one of the first that I put on, ran it for maybe 8 years, and just needed a break. Just a lot of work, a lot of emotion, and brought it back this year, maybe only for a 1 year running. I'm not committing to longer, but there were a good number of individuals who really loved that event and really wanted one more shot at it, so I was bringing it back for this year. Distances ranging from 50K to 100 mile with a relay option. Course, unlike maybe some of the other longer, particularly hundreds in our region, it's more runnable in terms of footing. It's not just a technical stretch of rocks and roots. Still significant elevation gain at 22 to 23,000 feet of gain for the 100 mile. But I feel like it's pretty fair. So our field between the distances is 92% full, so we are creeping up there. So if you're thinking of joining us for Virgil, now would be the time. Or if you're joining us and might have a friend who is still on the fence, maybe give them the nudge at this point. All right, registration is opening this week. The Canyon Kids Trail Run 5K in Wellsboro, PA is slated for August 7th. This is one that might be a new event. Canyon Kids Trail Race is a free event for kids 12 and under to come and meet new friends, make new ones, and have some fun. It's put on by the Tioga Running Club and offering the experience to give back to community and introduce just kids to the rewarding sport of trail running. Course is a 5K loop with over 750 feet of elevation gain, which they say will make it interesting for all and challenging for some. 2 small stream crossings, so sounds like a lot of fun. Again, slated for August 7th. That is an ultra sign up with registration open now. Another one that is put on by Rockhopper Racing, Christina Fulchik, and the volunteer crew around her. She had cued me into this one when we connected a bit after Chicora mountain races. Called Race the Cog, a new one. It is a 3.1 mile race up Mount Washington along the cog or rail line. The course is purported to offer 1,000 feet of gain per mile over the 5K, so quite burly, and with donations made to relevant entities and basically trail conditions up there. So check that out on Race the Cog. That is slated to open, actually slated open, I think, this week, with it set to run June 25th of next year. And then one more slated open this week is the Ty Dalton Trail Challenge 10K and half marathon. It's slated for November 14th in Waterville, PA. So, all right, FKT front in New York, Anna Rysick, 43 minutes, 21 seconds for Harriman's 3.7 mile beach trail. In Vermont, this is one that I had missed from June 17th, or maybe it was posted late. Michaela Osler, 6 days, 11 hours, 33 minutes for a new unsupported mark on the 273-mile long trail, one of the classic routes nationally and for sure in the Northeast. And she lowered the prior mark from 2019 by a scant 7 minutes. That's close, over 6.5 days. So great job, Michaela. I did reach out to Michaela. If she follows up, maybe we'll plug a clip next week. And then an incredible effort, one coming out of PA in a route dubbed the PA Canyon 180. Rode a smoker, covered 180 miles, running the West Rim, Pine Creek Rail Trail, Black Forest Trail, and 2 sections of the Mid-State, covering that beautiful beast of a route in 53 hours and 10 minutes. Truly incredible. Beautiful and absolutely beastly on some of those sections, and at 180 miles over 53 hours, truly incredible. Rhoda, beyond tough. Hopefully we will get a clip in from Rhoda. If she is able to get it in time for this week, I will weave it in here, and if not, we'll see if we can get it for next week.
Hey guys, I am Rhoda Smoker. I am from Elverson, Pennsylvania, and this past weekend I ran what I called the Canyon 180. Basically, it is a run that I came up with when I was on break at work one day. 180 miles in and around the Pine Creek Valley, like PA Grand Canyon area. So a little bit about the route. Had a little over 21,000 feet of gain, and I completed the entire Pine Creek Rail Trail, the West Rim Trail, and the Black Forest Trail, all in one run. The only other trail that was in there was a section of the Mid-State Trail. Basically, I used that so there would be less backtracking on the rail trail in order to get those other trails completed. So I had about 10 miles of rail trail that I had to do twice, which made my total rail trail mileage like 72, I think, or something like that. So yeah, I started Friday morning at 4 a.m. and I started at Pagmar on the rail trail. Did the first section, which was a little over 8 miles till I got to the West Rim Trail. And took the West Rim Trail down to Rattlesnake Rock, and then there was a little less than 2 miles of rail trail to Blackwell, where I picked up the Mid-State Trail. And I took Mid-State down to Ramsey. I skipped a small section of Mid-State in Little Pine. I took Panther Run Trail down into Little Pine, which cut a little bit of the Mid-State Trail out, and then picked Mid-State back up once I was down in the park and took that over to Ramsey. And then finished out the rail trail, which was an out and back section down in Jersey Shore. And then once back at Ramsey, stayed on the rail trail up to Slate Run, where I did counterclockwise loop on the Black Forest Trail. And then once I finished that, it was rail trail back to the Burn and Barrel, which is basically at the end of the West Rim Trail, where I had gotten on 2 mornings before that. Some of my goals for this run, obviously the first goal was just to do it and to finish. I was shooting for 48 to 50 hours was like my probably a goal, which I didn't know if I could do or not. I ended up doing it in 53 hours and 9 minutes, which I was super happy with. And one other goal I had was to not sleep at all, which I was barely able to accomplish. The sleep monsters come out like crazy on the second night, but I was able to push through. I think I sat down along the rail trail once and moped a little bit and closed my eyes, and then finished it out. But yeah, so it was a great weekend. Obviously a great area to spend a weekend doing anything. I had perfect weather. I couldn't have asked for better weather, which I'm sure contributed greatly to my success and my not being super grumpy the whole time. I had lots of great friends and family come out and help me, which I couldn't have done it without them. So yeah, a great deal to them. It's not everyone has people that are willing to spend the whole weekend not sleeping, following them around in the woods, feeding them, and making sure they're drinking and going to the bathroom and all that good stuff. So, yeah, that is my trip around the PA Grand Canyon, and I'd love to talk to you. If you have any other questions, hit me up, see what I can do for you. Have a great day.
All right, getting into some results. We've got a couple where there are no results yet posted. That was the Clear Creek Ultra Fest 21 and 34 miler in Siegel, PA, and the Rock and Laurel Trail 5K in Fitchburg, Massachusetts. A couple that we don't have voice clips in, but we want to plug them here. The Moonlight Rendezvous 5 miler in Kieseltown, Virginia. Sounds like a pretty sweet event. The race runs on a full moon night, runs up the Massanutten ski slope to Overlook, gaining about 1,000 feet in under 4 miles before bombing back down a gravel fire road to the finish. In the 5 mile of 20 finishers, David Downing took the win in 46:09. And in Shirley's Popcorn Kids Mile, open to kids 12 and under, Boston Lots, age 7, took the win in 7 minutes 24 seconds. Boston, taking the win is nearly as solid as your name. Well done, buddy. Night Train 50K and a half in Farmville, Virginia. Also a pretty sweet sounding event. Starts also at 5:30 p.m. Starts and finishes at the historic Farmville, Virginia, and cuts through a countryside steeped in some of the last battles of the Civil War. Of 113 finishers of the 50K, Nick Cruz took the overall win in 3:43, with Alicia Ryder top female in 4:23. In the half marathon of 113 finishers, Mary Sketch took the overall in 1:28, with Paul Rhodes in second as top male in 1:34. And I always love it when there's a female on top for the overall win. And it should be noted that Night Train one-upped Western States this year with 4 women in the top 10 in both distances. Tuscana's Creek Marathon in Williamsburg, Virginia. It's a rolling trail marathon along the Tuscana's Creek in Williamsburg, limited to 100 entrants. For the inaugural win was Steve Spears in 3:35, with top female and third overall to Sarah Sanchez in 3:47. All right, here we'll get into some events where we did check in and got some clips in. Actually, no, one more. On the Rocks, 16.7, 33.3, and 50K in York, PA. Went down with 46 finishers in the 16.7K, with Eli Eisenberger on top in 1:29. Alexander Hagen Weiss in 3:45, taking the win over a field of 26 in the 33.3K. And with another win on his year, Stefano Ruza in 4:56 for the 50K in a field of 20. All right, now we'll get into some races where we did check in and we did get some voices in from the collective or the field. So let's head through the handful of these. All right, what do we got here? We got Coventry Woods Trail Races, 5K, 10K, 3 hour, and 6 hour, put on by the Big Woods Running Club in PA. Of 37 5K finishers, Colin Gibbons emerged on top in 28:29. Of 51 in the 10K, Evan Daney in 46:09. In the 3 hour, Sergey Chepchev took the win in 2:46 for 3 laps. And in the 6 hour, 44 finishers, Nick Hantz took the overall win with 5 laps in 5:08. And shout out to first old man Josh Finger with 5 loops in 5:33. And to dig us deeper into Coventry Woods, everyone's favorite jort wearing trail staple, Sergey Chepchev.
Hello everybody, my name is Sergey Chepchev, and this past Sunday I was at Coventry Woods Trail Running Festival hosted by Big Woods Running Club. The fest took place at the Coventry Woods Park in Pottstown, PA. You could choose from 5K, 10K, 3 hours and 6 hours. As my training race, I did a 3 hour option on about 10K loop with 850 feet of game. I ran 3 loops this year edition, but about 20 minutes, something like that, slower than in 2019. The heat and humidity added to the challenge this year. It was a really hot day, still double digits, but felt like triple digits, especially if you ran the race in jorts. Unlike in 2019, nobody did 6 loops for 6 hours this time. In the past, when the race was done by Don Morrison from Chester County Running Store, I was volunteering and sweeping the course. The trails were in a pretty good shape, very runnable and smooth. Big shout-outs to volunteers for providing ice and watermelon. Many thanks to Big Woods Running Club for another good day on trail, and RD Daniel Fleckinger for designing very cool 3D printed Raptor awards. They just look like that. The club promotes Big Woods Running Club promotes trail running in the Hopewell Big Woods region of southeastern Pennsylvania. The Big Woods area includes many great parks and trails, including Horseshoe Trail, French Creek State Park, Woody Woods, and Warwick County Park, and Coventry Woods. It hosts many group runs and volunteer trail work days. I encourage you to join the Facebook page and run another event, the Big Woods 50K in December. Trails and jorts, more trails ahead. Yeah, I forgot. The next race I'm doing it's Fat Sass Switchback Challenge 3 hour on July 10 in Milburn, New Jersey. See you on trail.
All right, in Connecticut, the Forbidden Forest 30 hour went down in Stratford. Of 75 finishers, Daniel Wisniewski took the overall win with a solid 124.88 miles. That is solid. Elise Vaughn, top female with 102.6. And as our sign-up ultra sign-up page has a long, seemingly jumbled singular paragraph without much in the way of course or other intriguing information, I don't know much on the course or the event. So, in that absence, and anyway, I'm going to hand it right over to top female Elise Vaughn to cue us into Forbidden Forest.
Hello, my name is Elise, and this past weekend I came in first for the Forbidden Forest 30-hour ultra in Stratford, Connecticut. It was my first 100-mile attempt, and it was pretty epic. Prior to that, I have run some virtual ultras and some toughest mudder formats, the 12-hour overnights and 8-hour overnights, which would, I guess, technically qualify as ultra distances. So it was an insane event put on by an amazing director, Lou. The format was a 2.23 mile loop through the Roosevelt Forest in Stratford. Slightly hilly, not a ton of elevation. I think someone had calculated out like 46 feet or something like that each lap, but hills nonetheless. 5 hills each lap, and I counted them and named them. Terrain was decently rocky, gravelly, to tons of roots and some tricky footing in certain areas. Excuse me. And so it was just a matter of how many times can you mentally get through 2.23 miles over and over and over in 30 hours. So it was my first 100 attempt. It was a very interesting 30 hours. The humidity was troublesome. I normally don't run in terribly humid conditions, and it was nasty. After the first couple of laps, I was pouring, so I knew hydration and electrolyte fulfillment or refulfillment was going to be huge. And I realized that going into, I think, like the 13, 14 mile time where things just started seizing up. Very early for me. Normally I don't have that problem at all, so it was really tough. So I took a long pit, probably about 30 minutes, did some icing, really worked on hydration, took a lot of salt in with like potato chips or whatever, and then just went on. I love the nighttime ops, kind of my favorite. It's time to just muster and keep going, so I just power walked as best as I could. Met tons of people on the way, some really inspiring conversations with some multiple, like 200 plus ultra people. So it was absolutely amazing to get the push and the motivation through the the mental hurt locker, which is just about any ultra, right? In certain times of night. I was humbled by how amazing everybody was, humbled by the whole experience, and I hadn't a clue as to how I was doing until late morning, and I had my brother come out pace me, and we just kept going. And I was hurting mid-morning, but knew I could just keep going, and got in a really good headspace, and my competitive nature came out, and I just again kept going. So it was a blast. No idea what's up next in respect to ultras. I have some toughest mudders coming up in the next couple months, so I'm very excited to be back in that scene because I really miss it with the COVID shutdowns last year. For expectations with this event, I really had none. I really wanted to get the 100, but knew it was my first attempt, so anything was possible. But yeah, so that's a little bit about me. I hope to experience this again very soon in many different formats and different terrains. So that's about it.
And in New Jersey, Midnight Squatchapalooza, 3, 6, and 12 hour went down in Columbus. Another event by the crew at Sasquatch Trail Running. The Midnight Squatch made use of a 2.5-mile loop on the Burlington County Fairgrounds starting at midnight. It seemed to be the theme this past weekend. Of 16 3-hour finishers, Rafael Almanzar took the win with 17.5 miles. Of 70 in the 6-hour, Chase Smith secured the most miles with 40. And then 49 of the 49 in the 12-hour, it was Jared Parrott securing the overall win in 60 miles. To take us a bit deeper, finisher Michelle Goldberg.
Hey trail runner friends, my name is Michelle Goldberg and I am here to tell you about the Midnight Sasquatchapalooza, which is an ultra-marathon trail race that I just did on Sunday, June 27th. There was a 12-hour, 6-hour, and 3-hour option. It started at 12:01 a.m. Sunday the 27th and ended at, I did the 12-hour, it ended at noon, 12:01 p.m. the same day. It was an awesome event that I highly recommend, put on by Sasquatch Trail Runners. It took place in Burlington County, New Jersey at the Burlington County Fairgrounds, and it was a grassy course, but it was a relatively low elevation, but really unforgiving terrain. It was kind of out in the New Jersey farmland, so it was beautiful fields. There was like a marshy area, lots of birds, lots of bullfrogs, but a very challenging course in that there were a lot of divots, a lot of big tufts of grass. The grass was kind of long, so it I think some folks were a little bit surprised at, even though there was not a ton of elevation, it was tough. I chose this race. It wasn't my first trail run. It was not my first 12-hour or my first 50-miler, but I chose this because I had never started a race at midnight before. So I really wanted the challenge of running through the night. I've got my first 100-miler coming up in a couple months. So I wanted to get that experience of running all night long and just keep going throughout the night. From the point of sign up all the way through to the end, this was totally a fun event. I've never had a sign up for a race before where interspersed with your waiver and you acknowledging that ultra running can kill you and you might die, there were questions about like, what's your favorite cheese? Some just funny questions about what movie would be better remade as a musical. So I just knew that these race directors, Kim in particular, had a fabulous sense of humor. It was there throughout the event. There was a phenomenal group of volunteers that helped to support. Everything was set up. I arrived. I got dropped off at the fairgrounds just around like 11 p.m. that night. Got my stuff ready. In your registration, they even asked if it was a first-time trail race for you, and they had some extra little swag for people who had never done a trail event before or had never done anything like this before. So I think this group really takes care of their runners and thinks about what's going to make it an awesome event for them. It was a 2.5-mile loop. I might not have mentioned that. So in your set duration of time, you just run that 2.5 miles as many times as you can. There was a great pavilion with the aid station underneath. There was a real restroom, real bathrooms right there. But the aid station was incredibly stocked with all kinds of your typical trail runner or ultra marathon fare, but lots of fresh fruit. They were cooking potatoes and quesadillas. They had bacon. There was a surprise turn up of pizza rolls between about 3 a.m. and 3:30 a.m. that a lot of folks got really excited about. Just a really, really awesome event. But all the volunteers were so encouraging, and I had fun talking with other people and got to see a lot of people complete their first ultra marathon ever. There were a number of folks in the 6 and 12 hour both started at midnight. Obviously 6 hour ended at 6 a.m. and the rest of us kept going. The 3 hour group came in and ran from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. But it was so cool to see a lot of people do an ultra marathon for the very first time and really set out and achieve some goals. So I highly, highly recommend it. The highlight for me was after my 20th lap, which was 50 miles, I came in and Kim, the race director, looked over at me and she said, Michelle, I want to let you know that the existing course record for females is 20 laps. And I heard that. I just finished my 20th and I said, all right, I gotta go, I'll be right back. And I headed back out. I actually finished 2 more laps, and so I had a total of 22 laps. My Garmin said 56.55 miles, but I think that was probably all the trips back and forth to the restroom during a long event like that. But it was great. I ended up with this fabulous 12-hour first place female award. They had really beautiful, like, hand-carved awards, and the medals were even hand-carved wood. I got to set a new course record for females, which was like icing on the cake. It was really cool. Yeah, and just had a really great time. So it's an awesome event. Check it out. Sasquatch Trail Runners. There are lots of other events too, but I totally recommend the Midnight Sasquatchapalooza. Bye.
All right, for the Table Rock Trail Challenge, last one standing in Jamesville, New York. Made use of a 1.2 mile loop course of mix of dirt, gravel, and about 55 feet of elevation gain per loop. Of 74 starters, Ithaca's Carson Albanese was last person standing with 42 miles in. And the tough Laura Klein was last female standing in 5th overall with 31.2 miles. And taking us through the format and day is the last person standing, Carson Albanese.
Carson Albanese from Ithaca, New York, and here's a quick recap from this past Sunday's Table Rock Trail Challenge last one standing format race at Clark Reservation State Park in Jamesville, New York, which is basically right next to Syracuse. The race was put on by Salt City Trail Running, which is run by Scott English. This is my first foray into the last one standing format, which is why I chose it, firstly, and along with proximity to Ithaca, which made it pretty convenient for me. This particular race, there were 3 versions of a 1.2 or so mile loop. And the cutoff time started at 22 minutes per loop to complete. From there, the cutoff time goes down a minute each lap and eventually to 30 seconds. And then the cutoff time eventually levels off, so you have to try to hang on from there. At the end, if the runners don't finish the last lap in the cutoff time, it's the first person that crosses the finish line that wins. So going into the race, I didn't really know what to expect, since I've never done one of these before. But I thought as long as I start slow and give myself a little extra rest at the end of each lap, I'd be in all right shape. I had a few goals. My C goal was to get at least 50K in on the day. My B goal was to get 40 miles in, and my A goal was to be the last one out there. And immediately I wiped out my C goal because I remember saying to someone earlier in the race that my goal was 40 miles. So I couldn't go back on that. And I knew winning was achievable based on past top results, which were in the 50-mile range. I knew it was going to be a mental game, but it was interesting to see how it all played out, since in the beginning you're going so slow, but you're able to chat it up with other runners out there and learn about people's lives and how they came to running, which was really interesting. And I was able to figure out who had done the race previously, to hear out what their strategies were. And people were happy to chat, which is great, and help pass the time in those early laps too. But got to be careful because in those early laps, it'll lull you into a little bit of a comfort zone. So as the laps keep going, you start to notice the field getting a little bit thinner and quieter. And by lap 20, it started to feel more like a race. And at some point, I had found myself chatting with a guy I had knew/hoped I would be up against at the end, and his name was Fred Harley, and I knew he had the course record of about 52 miles, and that's what he was shooting for again that day. And sure enough, a little after the 50K mark, it was just him and I left. I learned he had won the past 3 years in a row, I believe it was, which ended up adding a little bit of fuel for me. And the elevation gain also creeps up on you a little bit. Each lap was only about 100 feet or so of gain, but over the course of however many laps, I think we did 35 laps, you get a decent amount of climbing in on the day, and I think it ended up saying 3,800 feet on my watch, so you'll definitely get a good workout in. It was a bit of a roller coaster with highs and low spots. It was mostly good, but it was the heat that would get to me a bit at certain points, feeling a little lightheaded. But I was able to reel it in and get some extra wins, second wins. And about 8 a.m. it was already 75 degrees, and throughout the day I think it was mid-90s. So I knew it was going to be a difference maker on the day. I staved off any cramps, which was nice. I wasn't paying attention for a moment going around a corner, and I actually ran into a tree, which knocked my mind right again. So I guess it was a good thing that happened. It got me to start paying attention. So luckily I had a small crew there and was able to cool down some drinks for me and get some cold wet rags for me, which really helped with the motivation side of things, get me out on there on another loop. That was another really fun part about the race. Was every lap you finish, people are cheering for you, and people who came to see you actually get to see you instead of being off in the woods all day while they try to time it just right. It's a great race to spectate, and had a really relaxing and friendly vibe to it. Scott, the race director, also brought those cool misting fans that he had placed at the beginning of the loop, which was an added luxury on the day. There's a bit of strategy involved as well. I learned to be careful of being the person to set the pace each lap, and in the final 7 or so laps, when it was just Fred and I was leading a bunch of them, which had me worried that I was spending a bit too much energy. But at the same time, I was able to get a short rest after each lap since I had time left on the clock. The jury's still out on the best strategy, but getting a few extra seconds of rest seemed to work out well for me. Another strategic part of the race that got interesting is knowing that there is only a certain number of people left in the race, which adds to the suspense of it all, especially being in the race as a runner. You start to kind of check out and gauge how the other runners are doing. Before the final lap, I overheard Fred say he was having a little trouble with his vision, which was probably due to the heat. But that was another mental boost for me, knowing it was getting close and going down to the wire. So maybe another part of it is keeping that poker face on, but that doesn't mean acting like a Scrooge out there at the same time. And in the final lap, I knew we weren't going to make it by the cutoff time, so I kept an eye over my shoulder, and coming to the finish, it was really close. I heard footsteps coming up behind me, so I was able to muster up a quick sprint to finish across to get the win. Overall, it was a really fun race and well-produced, and I would recommend it to anyone to try it out and make a day of it with friends and family if you can. It's a great race if you're a beginner also. A lot of people hit their mileage PRs out there, which was cool to see. I'm surprised there aren't more last-person standing events, or maybe I'm just not looking in the right place. But plus, for this race, you get a cool wooden trophy at the end if you're the last one out there, which, oh, here it is. Get one of these, which is pretty cool. Schedule permitting, I hope to be out there next year to defend the win. And as for my plans, I'm now actually preparing for Berlin, Chicago, New York City marathons in the fall. They're all within a month and a half of each other, so I'm hoping some of this distance stuff will help with recovery times in between. Doing Hood to Coast Relay in Portland, Oregon later this summer, which is a really fun time, jumping in a van with your team and cruising across from Mount Hood through Portland to the coast. And I may sprinkle in a couple trail races as they come up. Next year, I'd like to tackle my first 100-miler and see where that takes me. So anyways, check out this race, and thanks for the opportunity to share how it went, and have a good one, everybody.
Bounce back over to PA, Sharp Top 25K, 50K in Maston. Sharp Top makes use of the old loggers path, a 50K covering the entirety of the 27-mile loop. If the sweet trail and community aren't enough, You get the bonus of the Loggers Pass starting from a ghost town of Maston, PA. I always love me some good ghost town or ruins porn, so it was good to do a little Google searching on some of the ghost towns in PA. The 50K had 54 finishers, with Andrew Simpson taking the overall spot in 4:34. Andrew's in my 100-mile field for Virgil Crest. Looking forward to him throwing down on the course. The race for second looked tight, with Reagan McCoy edging Eric Wolfgang by only 40 seconds, and with Michelle Benshoff for the women's win in 5:45. In the 25K of 62 finishers, Mark Freimer took the win in 2:28. But first woman, the speedy Katie Sick, was on his heels in 2:31. And what was maybe the most remarkable was that there were 4 kids ages 12 and under. And so in that mix, and an awesome reflection on hopefully the future of our sport, top young studess Lauren Kozak, cue us in to Sharp Top.
Hi, this is Lauren Kozak with a review for my weekend. This weekend I did the Sharp Top 25K. It was part of a race that had 50K and 25K. It was my first 25K.
And how'd it go?
It went really good. It went quite as expected. It was 4 hours and 42 minutes, which was under my goal.
Were you nervous at the start of the race?
Oh yeah, because I haven't run that big of a trail race before. But it wasn't too bad. It was nice to get started since I was there for most of the morning working with registration.
Nice. And what did you think of the trail?
Oh, it was real nice. There was a couple hills, but then there were some nice downhills. And
I think you had something like 2,500 feet of gain total. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Nice. So this race was put on the Old Loggers Path. Was run on the Old Loggers Path hiking trail, a 27-mile loop. So how did you feel during the race?
It was great. There was a couple spots that it was not. Towards the beginning, it was like a flat but somewhat uphill, and that was quite difficult. I found it hard at about 11 miles in. It was slight uphill, and I was at that point getting pretty tired. So.
What makes you want to do races like this? I mean, being 12 years old, 25K, a 17-mile race is pretty daunting to a lot of kids. Did you actually enjoy it, or do you do it because it's a challenge, or do you do it because somebody asked you, or what?
It's fun for the challenge and to see what I can do. And I enjoy talking with people. And
so how did you feel crossing the finish line? Were you dead tired, or do you think you had more in the tank? Could do more? What do you think?
That was about all I got. I managed to, I emptied my tank completely at the very end.
Nice.
That was about it.
And who was the race director for this race?
Laura Hensler and Lee Arberdas.
Nice. So do you think they did a good job?
Oh yes, it was very great.
Nice. How was the aid station food and things like that?
It was really good. I ate a bunch of Oreos, and I loved the watermelon. I was at the last aid station. It was really nice. There was always people to fill bottles and stuff.
So would you say that your favorite aid station food would have been the watermelon?
Probably. Or the one up top at the view was nice.
At the Sharp Top view?
Yeah. And they had pierogies, and that was good.
Nice. Do you have anything else to say about the race itself? Did you have any falls?
One time, one stud was already running with me. He ran with me for the last 4-ish miles, and he had said, "You're doing excellent," and then I fell.
Were you okay though?
Yeah, just scraped up my leg a little bit.
No big deal for a trail runner, right?
Nope, got right back up and kept running.
So would you recommend this race to other runners?
Definitely. It was a lot of fun. One of my favorite parts was we crossed the stream that was knee deep or whatever, and I completely went swimming in it. And it was great. And then I went swimming real quick and got up, and that was running the next couple miles, and that was 11 miles in. It was great.
Nice. So it gave you new energy, huh?
I was it felt really awesome. So I was like running and passing people. It was great.
So you had a good time.
Definitely.
What else you got? Anybody you want to thank or anything like that?
Well, the race directors were awesome. Laura and Lee, they were great. And I think that's about it.
All right. Well, thanks for giving us your view of Sharp Top 50K and 25K race that went on this past weekend. Hope to see you there next year, right?
Definitely.
So well done, Lauren. And I know that your parents were and are stoked. And I am still stoked for hopefully you and my daughters to get together and head out for some trail miles. Up in Vermont, Catamount 25K and 50K in Stowe. Starting and finishing at the Trapp Family Lodge outside of Stowe, Catamount is a beautiful New England course. Runs a predominantly wide hard-packed dirt trail. On 25K, Justin Sheed took the overall win amongst a field of over 250 finishers in 141, with Elena Sonesson on top for women in 152. In the 50K, Eric Lapuma edged out Justin Sheed, who doubled back for day 2 by a mere 16 seconds for the overall win in 343, with Madeline Kingsbury for the women in 457, and in a field that saw 169 finishers. So, Will, you have grown that event quite nice. One of the, I think, larger, for sure, I think, in the New England region, and still growing. Great to open it up into the 2-day format. With over 400 entrants on the weekend, that is a solid return for Vermont trail events, and particularly post-COVID. So nice work to that whole crew. And so for voices in from the field, Eric Lapuma did pull off a clip, but I was having a tough time uploading it or getting it over. If it comes through in time, I will plug it here. And if not, Justin Sheed is coming through also for a rundown from his end on pulling off a pretty stellar 2 days up at Catamount. So Justin, take it here.
Hi everyone, thanks Ian for allowing me to give a race report about the Catamount Ultra that took place this past weekend. My name's Justin Scheid from Roxbury, New Jersey. I ran up to Stowe, Vermont to run the Catamount Ultra this past weekend. It's a 2-day event. There's a 25K on Saturday and a 50K on Sunday. Following the Cayuga Trails 50K at the end of May, I felt pretty good in my recovery, but I was unsure as to whether I wanted to do another 50K so soon. So I had signed up for both of the events, figuring if I'd run the 25K, I would run the first loop of the 50K and sort of get back-to-back long runs in. The event itself was unbelievable. It's put on by Ironwood Adventure Works and Will Robbins as the race director. It was a phenomenal course setup at the Trapp Family Lodge just outside of Stowe, Vermont. The course, rolling hills, about 2,500 feet of elevation gain per loop. So for the 50K, it would be about just under 5,000 feet. Very runnable trails, hard-packed dirt trail for the most part. These are like cross-country ski trails and snow trails in the winter. I think the biggest challenge that the runners had to face was just the heat and humidity, which for Vermont, being that far north, was a bit surprising this time of year. It really took a toll on the 50K runners, and I think we saw a lot of significant positive splits in the 2 loops on Sunday. But taking it up there was a great family trip for us. I enjoyed the event a lot. It was very well marked. And so you hit the high point on the course just before 5 miles, and then you have another sort of rolling mile, and then you get about 3 miles of downhill, which seems very nice at first, but when you're running the 50K, it really takes a toll on the legs. And so I definitely think that sort of after that point, it becomes sort of a grind to the finish. Eric Lapuma had the course record in the 25K. He also set the course record on Sunday. I sort of let him go at the start, and another runner followed him. They went out very hard. David Hedges, myself, and a few others were sort of in the chase pack. We had about 4 of us going through up to the cabin, which is the high point at just before 5 miles. And then afterwards, I sort of got gapped a little bit on the downhill along Hall Road, but kept my momentum going. It sort of just stayed in the pack, and then hit the 25K and looked up and saw that we were only 2 minutes behind Eric, and we actually could see the second place runner falling back. So we made a decision to stay in the race and took the second loop and just kept fighting. And was more nervous about being caught from runners behind me than closing the gap. But actually I saw Eric with only a couple miles left to go. As I was hiking up one of the last climbs, he was making his way onto the trail to head toward the finish. And so actually we ended up finishing only 15 seconds apart in the 50K, but I will say that I was never really up on his shoulder. He led from start to finish, wire to wire. An incredible run by him, a course record setting run. He ended up running, I think, 3 hours and 41 minutes, and I think I was 3:41 and 15. So it was a great way to set the course record, which was 3:46 previously. But he went out very hard. I think he went out in about 1 hour 45 minutes, so on pace for 3:30, which very impressive. But a big thank you to Will. I mean, the course was super well marked. You could not get lost if you tried. There was barriers at the trail intersections that prevented you from taking a wrong turn. The volunteers at the 3 aid stations were phenomenal, filling up bottles, water, Coke, Untapped, whatever you needed to rehydrate. Even volunteers willing to give you a spritz with a water bottle. So I had a great day. It was a challenging weekend. Legs were certainly shot. I gave it all I had out there. But I really enjoyed it, and so Will put on a phenomenal event. Definitely would be interested in going back to that in the future.
All right, and in the last one that ran this past weekend, it was one that I was in the mix of. It was the Manitou's Revenge 54 miler in Windham, New York. A truly incredible event. Probably one of, if not the toughest 50 mile in the country. Probably would go down as one of the top toughest in the 100K division as well. A truly remarkable course. Very technical in sections, uses most of the escarpment course, just one of our region's legends, actually nationwide, just a legend of a trail race. Uses most of the escarpment course, makes a connection over to the Devil's Path, one of the more technical and beastly routes in the country. And then it continues on for a finish in Phoenicia. Has roughly 15,000 feet of gain over the 54 miles, and amazing vistas, and just truly beautiful event. Mike Sudi and Charlie Gattel, great job staging and putting that one on. I was grateful to be out there. The day had shook out as I had hoped. My plan was to just take it quite a bit more conservative and just try to really enjoy the day and the effort out there. So that was all shaking out. Around mile 41, I unfortunately rolled and had a small tear to one of the ligaments in my ankle, and made the decision to call it there. Probably could have hobbled it in, but maybe done a little bit more damage to my ankle, and it probably would have taken me 5 or 6 hours to get in at that point, which was just more than I wanted to put in. Would have rather get home with family and enjoy that time and not roll in wicked late and exhausted. So kind of thankful here just at the end of the week out from it. My ankle is already runnable. Makes me question whether I was just a wuss on that day, but I don't think so. I think I just played that probably correctly, and really I was out there to enjoy the day and the effort, and I got that. I still felt pretty good mentally and physically at 41. Most of the course was behind me at that point. One big climb to go, but mostly downhill and runnable running, and so I could smell the barn, so to speak. And so to go out still feeling good about everything, I'm nothing but grateful and thankful for that day. So thanks to all again for putting that on. And to weigh in further from their vantage point, the top women on the day, Veronica Leeds, cue us in to your day and Manitou's Revenge.
Hey guys, my name is Veronica Leeds, and I'm coming to you from the White Mountains of New Hampshire, where I'm currently living and training, and I'm here to recap about Manitou's Revenge, which took place this last weekend in the Catskills. For those of you unfamiliar with the course, Manitou's is a NAR 54 miler with approximately 14,000 feet of vertical gain. And it's this delicious mix of super technical and yet super runnable at the same time, except for the climbs, which are hikes. I had a good training block leading up, and I was very mentally prepared to suffer with abandon, as I knew that to be in the mix to win against a lot of the women who were lining up, I would have to suffer really hard. The day started out, the pace frankly felt hot from mile 3 on. I didn't feel at my absolute strongest. Care Davis passed me pretty much as soon as we stepped into the woods, and she just kind of looked like she was gliding up the hills, and I sort of felt like, you know, I've been emphysema, I'm working really, really hard, but we're leapfrogging a little bit, we're chatting, and then somewhere after Dutcher's Notch, we started to just kind of stick together and chat, and that was by far the highlight of the race. Kara's like, I have mega respect and admiration for her, and I have for years. So to just kind of run and connect with somebody who is unapologetically strong and just exudes mental toughness, it was like an incredible experience. So then somewhere around, I don't know, maybe 75% of the way up Catterskill, I just started to feel really good, and I started to put a very small distance on her. And then at that point I thought, like, okay, like, this is actually not a play date, this is a race. So at that point I just went, and I ran the rest of the race feeling uncomfortable, and it was super hard. And, you know, I had no idea she was 2 minutes or 20 minutes behind me, and I also knew there were Kelly McDonald and Cheryl Wheeler and a bunch of other just really, really fierce women out there who could have easily taken me at any point. So I didn't even really stop to pee, and I didn't let myself sit on ledges, and I just, you know, kept saying suffer with abandon, and running kind of hard the entire time. And I was super lucky to have crew there, my husband Gene and my son Vladimir and one of my best friends in the world, Peter, and they helped me stay super efficient, as did the volunteers and Brian and Dick Vincent, and just everyone was sort of channeling like focus and pay attention and keep moving forward as quickly as possible. And I love the course, again, relentlessly technical, but it just felt so good to run, especially some of those climbs. And so I get to the very final section of road, and I'm a little bit behind my Steep Endurance teammate Rick, which was super cool to see him. And Brian was there, and he's like, hey girl, Kara is right behind you. And I kind of peek tentatively behind my shoulder, and she's right effing there. And I was like, oh my God, I have to run as hard as I can into the finish. And Brian was like, just put your eyes on Rick and run to Rick. And that's exactly what I did. And I just thought of all the short duration workouts that I had done where it's like an FML kind of intensity. And I just said, like, you have to do that, girlfriend. And the funny thing is it was like an 8:30 pace, so I wasn't really doing that, but it sure as shit felt like it at the time. And then, yeah, I ran it in. And it was an amazing day, and like an amazing community, and just so many incredible people there. It was so much fun. It was so freaking hard. And I can't wait to come back next year and hopefully get a bit of a faster time. And in the meantime, I'm running Eastern States in August, and I really look forward to running that and racing that and competing at that as hard as I can, and suffering there with abandon as well. Thank you guys so much, and have a beautiful day.
So great job, Veronica. Well done. All right, upcoming this week, while I'm filming, I think today is the Jug End Loop Ultra 4.2 mile and 6 hour trail race in Egremont, Mass. That is going. And then this coming weekend, the Finger Lakes 50 is 25K, 50K, 50 mile in Hector, New York. And that's one of the classics also in our region. That's in my backyard, so to speak, but it's also one of the older events in our region. Baltimore's Twilight Trail Race and the Hainesport 100, 12, and 24 hour are on deck for this weekend. All right, so that's what was shaken this past week in the Northeast trail running world. Looking forward to the events running on deck this weekend. Hopefully I'll get out and be able to check out some of the Finger Lakes 50s running, and hopefully you all get out there as well. All right, so thanks for tuning in. Thanks for liking the video, liking the channel, following it. Appreciate in advance anybody who just takes a minute just to share it on some other social media threads or your own threads. And thanks as always to the number of individuals who have come to support what I'm trying to do here with the Trails Collective in the form of Patreon support. So thanks so much. I will check you next week, and until then, see ya!